Well, welcome. This is Business Badassery episode number 3. I'm pretty sure. I always lose count on these things. I'm pretty sure it's episode number 3. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Billy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Billy and I were just commenting on, if you are watching the video version of this, the quality of our webcams and how spotty we look.
I have my webcam out on a loaner to one of my friends who's working on moving into the virtual space. So she's recording a course for actually one of our clients, Caleb, on how to move to Mexico for long-term and end-of-life care.
Oh, okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah. So my real mic and my real camera are still in her office so that she could give it a whirl. So next week I should look a little bit, I don't want to say better. I'm going to say crisp. The video quality.
Well, it'll make you look better. You'll be more crisp.
I'll be crispy.
Yeah. And the reason my webcam doesn't look as good, it's okay. This is a higher end webcam than I had for a long time. It's because it's nighttime here. It's almost 8 p.m. in Dubai, and I turn off all my lights. And I know what you guys are going to suggest. You'll say, Caleb, what you need to do is plug in your DSLR camera and make it your webcam. Okay, I did that. I spent a hunk of money on this little translator unit. Actually, pretty cool idea. We plug in your normal, which is right there, my normal YouTube camera, my expensive camera, and it translates it into a webcam. The problem is whenever I did it, there was like a 1 second delay with the audio. So I would say things and it wouldn't sync up with my mouth. I looked perfect, but the audio was all fucked up. And I don't want to pay an audio editor every time I do one of these. Oh, it wouldn't work because if it's live, like this is not live, the recording, but it's live in a way. But if I do live webinars and stuff, it would look stupid. So at some point, someday, I will fix this problem, but I'm not super concerned. Our audience, or at least a component of our audience, is going to be critical of the quality of our videos. So, well, the audio sounds pretty good. At least mine does. Your sound okay.
Mine is okay, but it's not my good mic. I cannot wait to get that thing back.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Today we're going to talk about location independence because that's one of the primary thrusts of this podcast. Is not. And I'll give my spiel on it, and then Billy can give her spiel. And we have slightly different, maybe even radically different opinions on what location independence means and how you utilize that in your life. That's actually one of the benefits of this podcast. So you can see other views besides Caleb's. And you are, in my opinion, you are not free unless you're location dependent. And if you know my content, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. If you are physically rooted to the city in which you live, to make the money to pay your bills, and you have to be in that city, and you have to be in that particular location, you're not free. You are following, as Dub Casey talks about, the lifestyle model of a plant, not of a human being. And if you look back in long-term history, we were hunter-gatherers. We moved. The tribe moved around. They didn't stay in one place. They moved around. And today, when you have the ability to go to the other side of the planet for $800, especially to do things like lower taxes and, lower costs and things like that, there's no reason not to do that. Plus, you're not locked into the problems of your local city. And my example is Portland, Oregon. So Portland, Oregon, that was the closest city I lived to. I didn't live in Portland, but that was the closest city I lived to. When I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, Portland was always in the top 10, often top 5 most livable cities in the United States, sometimes in the top 10 livable cities in the world. And today, Portland is literally a shithole. It's literally a shithole. So just because your city is great now doesn't mean it'll be great forever. And you're probably going to live many, many more decades. So if you say, but I love where I live, don't you at least want the option of just moving somewhere else whenever you feel like? I'm not going, oh, how do I make money over there? How do I start a business over there? How do I get a job over there? I get so many emails. We get emails, Sovereign CEO, of guys saying, well, I want to move. How do I get a job in this country? If they had location-dependent income, they wouldn't have to worry about it. So anyway, that's the importance of location-dependent income, in my opinion. Billy, I know you have a slightly or maybe even radically different take on what
I do. For me, location independence is that I can work from wherever I happen to be. So I like to take my dogs hiking. We go to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where it's really rugged and there are waterfalls and few people. And I can still work there. I jump back to the Airbnb at night and work for, 5 or 6 hours. But I can then spend my days doing whatever I want in the UP or in Canada or in Mexico. I literally can work from wherever I am as long as I have a signal. on either my phone or my laptop. One of
Right.
the two. Don't even need both.
Right. Mhm.
I just need to be able to connect with the world in one
That's
way
the
or
only
the
requirement
other.
I have too. As long as you have Wi-Fi or even not Wi-Fi, often what I'll do when I travel, and even here in Dubai, I'll just do a hotspot to my phone when I travel too. And then I have internet anywhere I want, as long as I have cell signal in most countries on earth. So as long as I have that signal, I can get my work done. So here's my thing. I don't know if I talked about this. Maybe I have. I think I talked about this a long time ago. I remember years ago when I was self-employed, location dependent. My big goal, I had financial goals. But in addition to my financial goals, I had this big goal. I had it for years. And it took me years to do this because I didn't know what I know now about how to set up location dependent income. And my goal was to leave the country. This is before I started traveling, or I was traveling very little outside the country. Leave the country, not leave my city, but be out of the country for an entire month and have no dip in income while I was gone. I remember how exciting that goal was to me. And I remember, I want to say, I don't know, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, I was on a trip. It wasn't out of the country. It was to Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. and something else. It was in the United States, but it was on the other side of the United States. And I was gone for almost a month. I was gone for like 3.5 weeks. And when I came back and ran the profit and loss statement, I had made not the same money, but more money when I was gone for 3.5 weeks. I went, oh, holy shit, I've done it. And then I started going to China and Asia and places like that for a month. And so I remember going, oh my God, I finally hit this goal. It took me years to hit that goal, but I remember how exciting that goal was and how freeing that was. And now, now I see that goal now, and now it's not very exciting to me because it's just been a part of my life for the past 15 years. It's normal to me. But I remember how excited I was. Wow, wouldn't that be awesome? I could be gone for a month. To your point, not move out of the country, not move somewhere, not go to Timbuktu, but go on like vacation or not vacation, just go somewhere and experience it, to your point, and not worry about not being able to pay my bills because I'm not physically in that city. Yeah.
It is so liberating. I remember a few years ago, we had a funeral down in Tennessee. A family member had passed. My brother and sister had to go through all of the hoops, working with their jobs to get days off. And it was only a limited amount of time. They had to take an income hit. And I missed one family lunch for the week that we were down in Tennessee. One lunch that I chose to miss so I could take a call. Oh, that's it. I was able to just do a few hours of work at night. My income level did not drop at all. I had the freedom to do whatever I wanted. And my siblings and my family members were so jealous because they were feeling this intense pressure from their workplaces. And I didn't have any. I could have cleared my schedule if I wanted to. But I was kind of sick of going to lunch with the same people every day. So it was a great excuse to take a little breather, a little time for myself. And in that time for myself, I was speaking to a client. So breathing new energy and life into my experience.
Have you been to, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I extend all of my trips. So anytime I do have to travel for business, I extend the trip by days or weeks. I'm already going somewhere. Mm-hmm. I might as well make the most of it. And I have no constraints that are going to say, get back to the office. The only time I need to be in my office is when I'm on camera, so I look a little bit better. And so the lighting's a little better. That's it. And certainly I don't have to do that. And as the podcast goes through the next year, you'll see that I won't. We'd like to take this show on the road.
Have you ever been, well, you reminded me when you talked about your family. Have you ever been to family reunions or family events, even if they weren't big reunions where, because I've had this scenario where the only people who showed up, or for the most part, I don't know how big your family is. I have a pretty big family. So when you go to this reunion, the only people who are there are the people who are either housewives who don't work or guys or women who have their own businesses. All the employee people aren't there because they couldn't get the time off. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I've experienced that several. I just realized this when you were talking. I went, oh shit, yeah. All the employees couldn't come because they couldn't get the time off. So the self-employed people could come a little, and then the non-employed people showed up, and that was it. And then me.
That sounds about right. I have a tiny, tiny family, so we don't run into things like that.
Okay.
Um, However, you run into that in every other aspect of daily life. Friends who can't take that bachelorette trip with you, or go on the bachelor weekend to
Yeah.
Vegas.
Right. Right.
Or I wanted to get a car. I knew exactly what the car was that I wanted, and I don't like buying new cars. I hate depreciation. So I buy something with a few hundred or 1,000 miles on it.
Me too.
I found the exact car I wanted down in Birmingham, Alabama. So just on a whim, I just flew down and drove it back. I could work in the car the whole time.
Yeah.
But then make a road trip out of it just because I wanted to.
So I'll give an example like that just happened to me. So you know this. I flew back to Portland for like 4 or 5 days, like 3 weeks ago. It was an unplanned trip. I did not want to go. It was a bunch of logistical shit in terms of shipping and picking things up. And it was some family stuff I had to take care of. It wasn't anything having to do with me. But I was able to go and kill like 3 or 4 birds at one stone. And I'm like, I do not. So in Dubai, if you guys didn't know, fly a flight from Dubai to Seattle, at least it's a direct flight, thank God. It's about 14 and a half hours. And I know that sounds horrible, but I'm used to it now. I just do it all the time. So it's just not a big deal, especially when you go business class, you can just lay down and go to sleep or whatever. It's not a big deal. So fortunately, I have the financial wherewithal to just do that. And I've mentioned this on podcasts I've done for myself, is that I don't mind the pain in the ass aspects of travel, of airline travel and jet lag. But to that point, what I did is I did an experiment. I said, okay, I have the financial wherewithal to go anywhere in the world I want, whenever I want, which is another big goal I had, by the way, in terms of my location independence. For a long time, I said, because I remember those days where I used to have to save up for a ticket. If I wanted to go to Hong Kong, I had to save up. Okay, it's gonna be $900. Okay, I'm gonna maybe it'll take me 3 months to say. Okay, then the hotel's gonna cost me. Then I have to save. I remember doing all that, and my goal was to make enough money where I could just go. I want to go to Hawaii tomorrow, and I just go, and I don't go. Oh, but it's gonna be more expensive because it's tomorrow. Because I remember, I know I'm jumping around here, but I remember when I was a kid, 1920, working in the corporate world, guys would be talking about the owner of the company, right? The owner of the 500 employees. And they go, these are rich people. They just wake up and they go, hey, do you want to go to Paris this morning? Sure. Okay, let's go. And they just go. And I went, oh, what an amazing amount of freedom you would have. So anyway, my point was, I went ahead and went. And I experimented. I think I told you this. I experimented with staying on Dubai time while I was in Portland. So I arrived there. I made sure the flights were when I was normally awake, and I'd stay awake during the flights, even though everyone was asleep, which is dumb. And then I would be in Portland, and I would go to bed at about 1 p.m. in the afternoon, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and I would wake up about 9, 10 p.m. at night, and I'd be awake all night, and I'd work. And I did that for 4 or 5 days. It was a little weird, but I had no jet lag. So I had no jet lag while I was there and no jet lag when I came back, because it didn't make any sense to me to suffer jet lag if you're only going to be there a few days. Now, if I'm there 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, like I want to go to Paraguay, then fine. But I'm just going to be there a few days. I'm not going to suffer. And it was perfect. So now I know I can do this. So literally, I didn't have any jet lag coming back. I was a little sleepy of the day I came back to Dubai that night, and that was fine. So now I know I'm location dependent. I can go anywhere I want, whenever I want. I can even take these brief little trips and stay on Dubai time zone and not have any jet lag. All these normal constraints that people have about, I can't go because I'm not location independent, I can't afford it, and I don't want to deal with jet lag and all the bullshit and all that crap. So I've eliminated all 3 of these things. So, and then the biggest one is location dependence. I mean, there's no way I would be able to just take a week and just go to the other side of the planet if I had a job, and I guess I could, but even then it'd be a nightmare. Yeah, you reminded me of that too.
The other awesome thing about location independence is that I don't have to rely on my local community for my income. And I'll repeat that for those of you in the back.
Yeah.
I am not reliant on my community or that around me to make my income.
What are you implying, Billy?
Which is amazing because, for example, I live in north central Wisconsin near a town called Wausau. The industries near us are paper manufacturing, insurance. Actually, Wausau there are people around the country, when I say the word Wausau, who are going to get a jingle in their head. And it's not a jingle that was played locally to me, but it's for Wausau Insurance. This is the town where Employer-funded health
Oh,
insurance was developed in the United States in my town.
okay. I
So
think I remember you
Liberty
telling me this.
Mutual and a bunch of these
Yeah.
companies have all of their call centers here because they sprang out of Wausau Insurance. So that we have 1 million call centers for insurance and finance companies.
What's the population there?
It's
Of that
about
town?
50,000, and with the metro, it's about 90. So it's not a big community.
Nothing.
And it's about 2.5, 3 hours north of Madison, which is the nearest, big city.
Mhm.
So we're really kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Unless you want to work in, a manufacturing facility, and I've done that. I've done marketing in manufacturing, but that's about all there is. It's either manufacturing or phone centers. There's not very much money to be made in that, and there sure as hell are a lot of constraints where you're dealing with varied scheduling, you're dealing with commissions. There's nothing about the industries in my local area that appeal to me.
You're also constrained in terms of your income, because I've talked to guys
hugely
who live out in the middle of fucking nowhere. They're like, well, how do I, make 500,000 a year selling in this little town? You can't. I mean, I guess anything's possible, but good luck. Have fun with that. If you're not location dependent, right? Good luck.
I've only ever even had one client in my local area. And it was a client that I eventually fired because they were not, they did not think like business owners and really couldn't make that leap. They're practitioners of their specialty skill, which is amazing, but they couldn't make that leap into making like business triage decisions to maximize their income and reduce overspend on labor. They weren't willing to do it, so I fired them. And I've never, ever had another client within a few hundred miles of me.
So let me expand on that, because I've mentioned this. A lot of you live in, and this is your word, not mine. I'm not insulting your country. You say this about your own countries. I live in a shithole country, or I live in a country where everyone's poor. I live in, some African nation or Bangladesh or what have you. So I can't start a business. Yes, you can, location independent. And one of the smartest business models I've ever seen. And I don't do enough of this. I should do more of this. I don't. I guess I can't because I live in Dubai, and Dubai is not very cheap. But one of the smartest business models I've ever seen when you're location dependent, and I learned this way back 15 years ago from guys who were doing this, is that you live somewhere, a country or a region of your country where people are poor and it's cheaper there, but you sell to people who live in expensive cities. So in other words, you live like in Chiang Mai, Thailand or something, or Bangladesh or Nepal or wherever. Okay, you live in these low income areas, but you're selling to people in Manhattan or London or Tokyo or Los Angeles. There are people who are used to getting screwed financially and spending bazillions of dollars because the cost of living is so high. So you don't have to sell. And it's so hard for people to get this. I don't know why it's hard for people to get this. Maybe you can shed some light on this. It's so hard for people to get in this thing like, but I have to sell to people here. I live here. No, you don't. You can sell to people on the other side of the earth, especially if you speak English, because just about everyone speaks English. Or even you can do this locally in your own region or your own country. You can live in Wausau. How do you say it?
Wausau,
because I know how it's spelled from your accounting stuff. You can live in Wausau, okay, but sell to people in New Jersey,
San Francisco.
San Francisco, right? Sell to people who are used to spending high prices on stupid shit. Exactly, and it's so hard for people to get that through their heads. I guess it's just a tunnel vision bubble thing where you live here your whole life, and
I think people don't realize what opportunities exist. For example, Caleb was just saying that he lives in Dubai, which is expensive. I choose to live a pretty modest life in Wisconsin so that I can travel. Like, that's what matters to me. I like having low overhead. So I do have a mortgage, and that's by intent because I like my money to work for me. But my mortgage, including insurance and taxes, is like less than $700 a month. I have a 2-bedroom house, a half an acre of land, and you cannot see another house from where I live. So to me, that's ideal. I love having that separateness and that peace and that seclusion. But then I can travel, and I will be in January. I'll be in Dubai for a week. But what people in my community and these poorer areas don't realize is what the cost of living is elsewhere. So in San Francisco, $750 a month would get you a cardboard box.
Not even
Like
that.
there is no way for you to sustain yourself. You could maybe feed yourself for a month for that amount of money.
How many bedrooms is your house? How big is your house?
It's small. It's like 1,200 square feet, 2 bedrooms with a full basement that's not completely finished.
And how much land? How much?
Half an
like
acre, just over half an acre.
Half
but
an acre,
it abuts a field that there are no houses.
So you're gonna flip. So and a few years ago I wouldn't do this, but I make enough money now where I don't care. My house is maybe double yours. I don't have a big house. 4 bedrooms. Let's see, right? 4 bedrooms, 2 stories. It's not a big house. It's bigger. The rent here in American dollars, huh?
You have family, so that makes sense. For
I have one other
coming
person.
And going.
It's just 2 of us. I'll tell you. I'll tell you why that's weird in a second. Weird to people here. So my rent is almost $9,000 a month in US dollars. My AC bill last month was $1,100. So this is where, but again, yeah, I know. So people who live in, lower cost living areas go, oh my God, why are you doing that? Now I choose to do this because I pay about 4% on my total taxes. So to me, it's worth it. And I'm married, I'm with a woman. And when you're married to a wife, your expenses go up, even if you have separate finances like we do, just the way it goes, which is fine. I knew that going in. But what was my point? I guess I lost my point. But there's a big difference between, I'm just making a contrast between, double yours is 1,400. Yeah. So that's kind of nice.
I tell people often, especially my San Francisco and LA clients, like, why do you live there? Because it's practically free.
Yeah, I see the beauty in what you're doing. Yes, I see the beauty in what you're doing too. And I used to do that too. Well, yeah. Oh God. Yes. So I get it. I do that for years.
Different too. I love living like a hermit. I like things being really quiet, only having to interact with human beings when I choose to. I like that for a few months, then I get bored. See, to me, that's freedom. To me, that's location independence. Right. I don't have to be surrounded by other people's noise. I don't have to be surrounded by their odors. Right. I don't have to, their odors. Well, you know what I mean? Like, there's always that guy who's eating like a egg salad sandwich in the break room at work, or just disgusting.
Cooking a fish sandwich, that's my favorite.
It's so terrible.
They microwave that shit. You're like, oh my God. Yeah, that's my favorite. I think
that's probably the part of location independence that I actually value the most, is I don't have people stopping by my desk saying, good morning, Billy, shut the fuck up, I'm working.
Well, but that's more freedom of, I guess it's location independence.
It's location independence to me. If I can be sitting outside, if I can be sitting outside and working, I'm a very, very happy person.
You don't like people popping in your office and saying hi? Why don't you like that, Billy?
Oh, as an INFJ, the interruption and the noise and having to do small talk. Oh, please shoot me.
I'm the same. No. I'm INTJ. I view it the same way. I have to have do not disturb time with my lovely wife from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. She cannot bother me. And it's hard for her to not bother me because she's extroverted. So it's hard. She has to try really hard. She does it, but same deal. I know. You reminded me of something else. So we have some people we work with here. One of them is from Pakistan. And he was over at our house and he saw how big it was. And he goes, wow, how many people live here in your family? And I said, just me and her. And the little dog is like, what? He's like, this is four bedrooms plus a maid's room. So it's like almost 5.
That's ridiculous. Wow.
3 or 4. Yeah, they always have maids room here in Dubai because a lot of people have to live in Filipino maids. And he was so amazed at this because they have these, like Mexicans, they have these giant families and they got a big house and there's like 12 people in the house. So that's their culture. And
it's like generational living.
Yes, it is. That's very common in most of the world still. It's just something weird to us Westerners. But he went around, he asked permission to do this. He was very polite. He took his phone and went around and filmed the house and told his wife, 2 people live here. just two of these crazy Americans. That's it. This whole house, two people and a dog that's this big. Isn't that crazy? They're like, wow, that's crazy. So yes.
That's how I feel too. When I compare myself to friends in San Francisco or New York who are living in tiny apartments that cost a huge amount of money, and I have a 2-bedroom house. The bedrooms are really, really big compared to most.
Yeah.
I feel like I have way too much space for one person. And it's just me and a couple dogs and a couple cats.
My brother spent most of his adult life in San Francisco, and he did it. He would live in a studio apartment that was 3 or 4. This is before San Francisco went really crazy. I want to say $3,500 a month in a studio apartment. And when he would come to my house, my big house in Portland, we had 2 of them. He would go, my entire apartment. We would talk about how much my house cost was and his house cost was, and it was the same. We were spending this, or I was actually spending a little less than he was. And he goes, you're spending less than me. And my entire apartment fits in this living room. Like, yeah, that's right. And we got a beautiful view of the mountain. And yeah. So I agree 100%. Yeah. And again, I'm at the point now financially where this doesn't bother me as much as it used to, but for forever I did this. And if I do this, I would like to buy or rent year round, like little cabins and small houses around the world. And I'll do something like that. I'll do like a little apartment or a little thing. I could afford more, but I don't want to. And it'd be really nice to have like a snowy little cabin somewhere in Europe that'd be so cool. But I don't need to spend a lot of money. I don't get to spend. The only reason I do it here is because this is Dubai and that's what the prices are here. Right. But again, or right. Or Airbnb, right.
Caleb
right.
knows I'm a junkie for really cool, funky.
I know you are. You've places, a lot of cool stuff.
I want to have a feeling when I'm taking an adventure. I want to curate a certain experience and a certain feeling for myself and those around me. So, well, Caleb, I remodeled this house. I just bought this one and remodeled the entire thing. And I spent 6 weeks just living in 2 really awesome Airbnbs, and taking my dogs with me and just enjoying it. But it's like having a cabin without having any of the overhead. I don't have to go out and clean it up for winter. I don't have to do anything. I just show up and enjoy myself.
But the point is that you and I can do these things because we choose to. I choose this life. You choose your life. I know, I have an idea how much money you make. You could get way more expensive and lavish if you wanted to, but you choose to do this. And I choose to do this. And we choose to be, would you agree that if you could move to anywhere in the world, you would stay where you are? Is that accurate? At this point in your life, I should say.
At this point in my life, I'm a little bit torn. I would be somewhere wild and remote, and it doesn't matter which continent.
Well, you pause. Where do you want to be? Where would you rather be?
Well, I think there's part of me that's really drawn to the UK, but I don't like rain.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it'd be like the Brecon Beacons, or some really crazy wild place in the UK. But I live in the equivalent here in the US.
You could summer there.
That's precisely what I'm thinking. I just hadn't gotten to that point yet where I knew what I wanted as a home base and if I wanted to keep this as a home base. But I think I've decided I really do want that.
Yeah.
And then I'll spend a lot more time traveling.
We're going to do London stuff next year. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm such an Anglophile. So if you live in the UK and are looking for an obnoxious American woman.
I think I told you this when I took Pink Firefly to London. She was very impressed with the men there. She's like, my goodness. Oh, she got back to the hotel. She's like, because she comes from Portland, Oregon, where there are all the men are these little skinny little, Yeah. So then she goes to London. She's like, oh my God, this is great. She couldn't believe it.
I do like the Tweety sort, the posh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know some women are into that look. Yes.
Well, I'm also into that because I was a horsewoman for 1,000 years.
Oh, of course.
So, and a man who could ride to hounds is a very attractive man in my
Yeah. I would be tempted to I don't want to live in Europe for many reasons, but I would be tempted, and I have been tempted. I just mentioned this. Get a cabin somewhere like the snowy parts of Austria or Switzerland, and maybe have something like, not south of France, but something like that where I spend, or even Sicily would be really cool. Oh my God, that'd be so great. I'm so busy right now. I choose to be busy, but yeah. But my point to you is, yes, they had a very hot summer in Europe, in London. It got up to,
Yeah,
well
last
past
year was
110.
wild.
Yeah, it was really weird. Even they were surprised. With a lot of UK people here, and they're like, "What the hell?" And I was like, "What the hell?" It was 43 Celsius, which is
It's hot.
120. So don't quote me on that, but really hot. But anyway, you could do both. You could spend 6 months there and 6 months there.
And
You do
that's
that.
really the goal that I'm working toward. I had to figure out the home base. And then, unlike Caleb, we like to work. We geek out on working.
Yeah, we do.
And I get in hyperfixations with work. So that's been taking my focus. And then, of course, you and I planned a bunch of travel and events for this upcoming year. So I plan on just piggybacking on those trips a few extra days or week.
Yeah.
But the goal is by this time next year, and I was put behind the curve by that whole pandemic and not being able to experience things.
Okay. Right.
But the goal is within the next 12 to 18 months to figure out where I want to, at least summer.
Well, London, when we
That's
do
not
our
true,
London,
not summer, where I would like to spring and winter. The
oh,
summer
you
here
don't
is
want to, oh, you
amazing.
like winter where you are then?
I don't like winter where I am. I would like to get it. I used to live in like West Palm Beach for the winters down in
Okay,
Florida.
so I know that. I
So
understand.
I'd
You want to
like
be
to
gone for the
give
winter? I
back.
don't get it.
Yeah, I want to be gone for the winter starting next year.
Oh, got it.
I
Oh,
enjoy the
understand.
winters now, and I'm a really active snowshoe racer. I direct a snowshoe race series, which Caleb knows
Don't
about.
laugh. I always
We have
laugh. Don't laugh.
28 races in 4 different states in the US. And these
Snowshoe
guys
racing.
are fast. There are guys that can do a 5K on snowshoes in like 25 minutes. It's ridiculous.
They must have big thighs.
Those
Jesus
dudes
Christ.
are like the skinny ultra runner types who they just lap me
yeah.
a few times as I slowly
Skinny
waddle.
little guys, these marathon guys. Yeah.
But I do make it, that's part of location independence for me too, is that if I want to do some crazy thing like be a snowshoe race director, I can just do that.
Yeah.
If I want to spend every weekend snowshoeing, I can do that. I have the funds to travel. I have the ability to travel and then add on to my trips for a few days. But I make the most of winter where I live. And I make
a lot of this ties
enjoying
into, a lot of this ties into freedom of time too, which I don't take advantage of like you do, because I'm in the final phases of my empire building phase of my life. So I choose to work really hard. But we should probably discuss that on a future podcast too, is the ability, they've done studies, happiness studies, I believe this is right, where if you're able to set your own schedule, people who are able to set their own schedule every day, even if they have to work, but they decide when they want to work, are much happier than people who are forced to do 8 to 5. And that's certainly true with me. My goodness. Oh my God, I hated that when I was an employee. Ugh.
Same here. I am freshest when I wake up at 4:00 in the morning. I step out of bed, my eyes pop open and I'm ready to go. So for me, it's just ideal. But we can definitely talk more about that in another podcast. They tie in and correlate very, very closely with one another, the idea of location independence and time independence. Because as you structure one for yourself, you can simply structure the other as well.
Well, you and I both take Fridays off now, right?
Always. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't always for me. My day off floats around. So tomorrow, we're recording this on a Thursday. So tomorrow is both of our days off, right? Right. Is tomorrow?
That's it.
Today? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, which means I'm working like a maniac today to get my work done, so I don't have to work tomorrow. Hopefully not at all. Sometimes I cheat a little bit. Sometimes work a little bit. Like when my wife gets ready, it takes her 17 hours in the morning to get ready for the day because she has to be beautiful. So
Alexis,
that took work, but
just know Alexis' friend that I slapped him for that.
yeah.
17 hours.
Right. What else? I don't know. I could go on and on, but I was repeating myself on examples and stories of the same thing of why location independence is so important to me and why it's so important to my happiness. I know it's important to you. So you guys watching or listening, now you understand a little bit better how you don't have to be, and that's an important point. And I should let's end with this, and you can comment on this. One of the many points of this podcast is to get perspectives that are not mine and that are different than mine, but within the space of owning your own business, location independence, living a free lifestyle, and how there's different ways you can do it that look very different than the way I would do it. And Billie is a perfect example of that. We're going to have other people in this podcast really soon who are either even other alternate examples of how you can experience this lifestyle and not be like Caleb, which means an international Five Flags maniac. You don't. You could be in the same region and just travel, like Billie said. You can travel around in the local region. You can do that. It can be anything you want to be. And I try to get people to not copy the exact way I live, unless when you found me, the way I'm describing is exactly what you already wanted. That's different. But I'm sure some of you heard Billie describe what she has and go, holy crap, that's what I want. I don't need this Caleb Five Flags garbage. I want to do what Billie's doing. Great. That's the point of this.
Yeah, you're right, Caleb. There's space in this universe for all of us to get our needs and desires met.
Right.
And we're here to be a clearinghouse to show you different examples of what that can look like. And we're enjoying the hell out of our lives. We're enjoying helping share this freedom with other people. And it's probably once or twice a month at least that I get a call or an email from somebody saying, holy crap, my life has completely changed since I met you. And since you started introducing these ideas to me. And I know, Caleb, you get the same because your staff shares some of those with me as well.
Cool.
We do this because we know the joy that it's brought to our lives, the success that it's brought as well. But the peace that it brings to know that you're free to do what you want and any of you can build this. We're here to help. And as Caleb said, we have lots more friends and acquaintances and associates that we're going to be introducing you guys to who take these liberties and run with them in their own way. And it's just so exciting to share that community.
And you tell me if you agree or not. This has been my experience. When you're location dependent, every year it gets better. Yeah. So the way in which I've experienced my location dependence in the last 12 months, a year or two, is way better than when I experienced it 3 or 4 years ago. I've been location dependent now for, I don't know. I've been partially location dependent for about 20 years. I've been 100% location dependent for, I should probably pinpoint that, 13 years or so. And so the first year was great. It was very good. But now it's so much better. And I look forward into the next few years, the future, how much better it's going to get. It gets better every year because I don't know why. If you've experienced, I don't know why it's been better. I don't know.
I think you get into this rhythm and you start realizing more and more what you can do.
Yeah, maybe that's
and how many parameters and expectations have just fallen away.
Yeah,
and it becomes more liberating, I think, every year as you take more and more advantage. And for both of us, we've made more money too. I think that's directly a correlation.
Part of it too. Yeah,
it's a correlation with happiness. When you're happy, when you're content, you do your work. When you focus on, having to get things done in a certain time or in a certain place, it's a much different, you feel trapped and constrained.
Right.
So the more you're able to flex your days, your schedule, your weeks, your living situation, the more you experiment with that. And the more you experiment, the more you realize you can do. So it's never ending. And the money comes with it.
I was just perfect. You read my mind. We didn't even discuss, we should do that in our podcast too, all these ideas. We didn't even discuss how being location dependent helps you increase your income, which I don't talk about enough. One of the biggest reasons that my income is, literally one of maybe the top 3 reasons my income has grown in the last 5-6 years is because I'm location dependent. I'm doing things I wasn't able to do to create income when I was location dependent. To your point about being locked into where you are, when suddenly now you can go anywhere you want and sell products and services to anyone you want without worry about location worldwide, all of a sudden you have these new opportunities to make money that you didn't have before. And we've had specific scenarios in all 3 of my companies where we sold a thing that was location dependent-ish or required people to be at a physical location. And then the pandemic helped out with a lot of this, frankly. And then we revamped it into something where you didn't have to be, you could be anywhere in the world and do this all remotely. And we made 4, 5, 6, 7x the amount of money we were making instead of just keeping it as a location dependent thing. Just as one little example, servicing clients all over the world, servicing customers, all these things that I can do now that I couldn't do when I was location dependent that helped me increase my income. I usually talk about the other way around. Make a hunk of money, be location dependent, and then you're good. Well, the way it really works is, unless you retire or something, or you just want to maintain it, your income will go up once you're location dependent. We should probably talk about that too.
Yes, definitely. I have a lot to say about that and some really great examples.
Yeah, so do I. I didn't even think of that. We even touched on that. We're just talking about freedom and happiness, this podcast, the unimportant stuff. Next time, or one of these times, we'll talk about money.
But
cool.
I say this is where we differ. I think this is the important stuff that allows you to get over some of those barriers and hurdles that get you to the money. So it's all important stuff.
I was joking. It's all important. I don't know
he's never entirely joking when it comes to money. Come on, Caleb. I've known you too long.
Happiness is important. I teach happiness.
Yes.
But money is a necessary component to happiness.
It is. I think they go hand in hand. You're absolutely right. And I love giving you
that's why you can't discount money if you want to be happy. That's part of my core philosophy. I've talked about that a lot in my other stuff.
Yep. And you can't discount happiness if you want to make money. You just get in your own way. You
may have to suffer through some shit temporarily to get to the money. We can talk about that.
Discomfort. We can talk about that too. Seeking discomfort.
We'll talk about that too.
Yeah,
we should have a little debate about that too. We agree on some of that, and some that we don't agree. Well, discomfort equals unhappiness, at least temporarily.
Exactly.
Because if you want to be happy, you can just watch Netflix all day and smoke weed all day. And I talk about this and just do whatever you want.
That is your go-to, yeah.
Right. I mean, whatever.
Right.
Or video games or whatever the hell it is. And you'll be comfortable, but you won't be happy, but you'll never be uncomfortable. Yeah, anyway, we could talk about that.
True.
Yeah. All right.
A lot more
fun to come. Well, we're both very busy. What?
A lot of fun to come on upcoming podcasts.
Yes. We will wrap it up for today. We will see you both next week. And also, Billie and I will discuss other people in this podcast too. Maybe next time or the time after. Maybe not. We'll have to discuss that. But don't think this is just me and Billie. We have an entire cast of characters.
We have a slate of guests that are ready to be slotted in. So you're going to see a lot of new faces over the next few months, and we're looking forward to introducing you to them.
Yes. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, man.
Thank you, sir. Good seeing you this morning, everyone.
All right. Bye, guys. See you next week.